Hi, I'm Mike Roberts. We're doing a cemetery tour of Smith Flat Cemetery today, here for the American River Conservancy. We've got 30-some people here. It's an amazing day. Thanks for coming to the Smith Flat Cemetery tour. This one, Smith Flat, is a very interesting place. It connects a lot of elements of our history. We are right on the primary wagon road to Lake Tahoe, and also the Comstock Lode, which ran for 20 years plus through the 1860s, 70s, and well into the 80s, with everything being, a lot of the supplies coming up this road on freight wagons. So the freeway, which is there, was then over there on Smith Flat Road. What I love about this place is, for one thing, it's got all these elements of the original. I mean, it feels very timeless, roaring in your ears. So it's got a little yin and yang, which is powerful somehow to me. First off, Smith Flat, the place, this area, named for a rancher, a dairyman named Jeb Smith, probably. He was the first person here, like in '48, raising dairy. You'll see it called Smith's Ranch, Smith's Rancho, Smith 'S Flat. It later became Smith's Flat, no apostrophe, no space. And then the post office, when there was one here, made it Smith Flat with no space. And it still hosts one of the original mile houses. What I love about old cemeteries is how much they connect all the various interesting themes in our history. The industry, the transportation themes, the people themes, and the strong individual characters that it took to survive in this era. Well, we know that gold was discovered here in '49. They were going at it hot and heavy. By '50, they're inventing cement crushing machines here before the cemetery exists. There's all sorts of people buried here that we don't know about. There's all sorts of people buried in Dorado County we don't know about. It's one of the many frustrating things about cemetery preservation work is you're dealing with massive amounts of unknown. And you'll go try to find a name on a headstone, and you got nothing. Then in the early '90s, we got a ground penetrating radar. Briefly, that's a thing you drag across, and you can tell if there's probably a body down there based on soil densities. It works most of the time, not all the time. If there's been cattle running in an area, the soil gets too compressed for it to work. Other dirt situations cause it not to work. But we have pretty good confidence that it worked here, and that's why you have the map you're holding. That's what comes out of ground penetrating radar. And then when you have 10 or 15 years of research, you have the names that are on the other side. Why weren't the names there all along? Because the courthouse burned in 1910 or 12 or 14. And so we lost all the burial records. And that's one internment list that happens to jive with the map. I have at least 3 others that are different to me. This is sort of the original families, at least the ones I found. This is sort of ground zero. The Potts had a saloon and dance hall. Depending on which book you read, it was either here in Smith Flat or in Camino. Again, there's a lot of information out there. Not all of it's accurate, and we can't blame them too much. The Lyons. Members of the Lyon family lived in and around Smith Flat for many generations. Joseph Lyon seems to be the patriarch. He served under General Sherman in the Civil War. Company D, 2nd Iowa Infantry, and was with Sherman on the famous March to the Sea. They have 2 headstones. The family at some point made new, better ones because they were thinking that the old ones were decaying, which they are. If you tried to read some of the older ones there can be active cemetery preservationists that properly remove the moss and lichen that eat up these limestone markers, but we don't have that in El Dorado County. Unlike every other place on earth where there's old cemeteries, where there's a whole bunch of me that are out here on Saturday mornings merrily cleaning headstones with Cub Scouts and stuff. We haven't done that, but that's why I'm here, to try to raise awareness. Joe Lyon comes out here and marries Lucy Creighton. The Creighton is another core Smith Flat family. They had the blacksmith shop here. And so with all this mining going on, we'll have to spread out the discussion of that because it's large. But you might imagine there was a great deal of blacksmithing to be done with this much mining. Joe ran a grocery store in Grizzly Flat, which was a booming hub at the time, because it had both mining and it had Caldor lumber going on. So Grizzly Flat was happening. Arthur Lyon, I found a obit for him. He was a farmer and a longtime teamster. So there we have travel. Again, we're on this road, and so there's people lived by these handful of industries, transportation. And teamster means he was driving freight wagons. I got pictures of freight wagons here. They're just like regular wagons, only smaller and hardier with way more horses and mules. But there was another famous Lyon, Alice Phillips Lyon. Her family came from the town of Phillips up there. Very colorful character. She was an early resort hostess, and she founded the Rubicon Mineral Springs, which was a really popular, famous spot here for many years that's got its own history. And she marketed mineral water out of there as, quote, better than whiskey. All the time. I mean, if you survived the first 2 years here, you were like the exception. There was so much disease and just so many hazards from the lifestyle. When you think about it, logging and mining, can you think of 2 more dangerous things to do? some of the names are actually on your list, but you can't read the wooden markers anymore. You don't know why they're wood, but I've learned this much. They're typically buried in the 30s and 40s. So what's going on in the 1930s and 40s here in the United States? Depression of World War II. Shortages of everything. Shortages of stuff you never thought of. Limitations on transit because it might take precious war fuel to haul things like heavy marble. So we get this. Now what's weird about these is that they still are here. In most cemeteries, they fell down after 10 years because wood does what in the wet ground? It rots. And then they proceeded to rot the rest of the way. In the 2 years that I've been doing this, I've already lost a couple at really remote cemeteries where there'd be like one wooden marker standing and you go back the next spring and it's gone. Smith's Flat is a hard scrabble place. It's kind of a practical place, you know. They got a forge, they got a mill, they got ironworks here. They put it on brackets. They're still standing. How cool. And in some cases we know who they are. We don't know much about them, but they're still standing.